I hope everyone's doing well today. My name is Michael Williams, and I'm here with my good friend Thom Harrison. And today we have a very, very special topic to talk to you about that's close to our hearts and our pockets. So, Thom, I'll let you go ahead and introduce our topic for today.
Sure. Yeah, we'd like to talk about your smooth speech investment journey, right? So let's imagine, if we would, that we're talking about just that, an investment journey, right? So imagine that today, Michael and I are your investment managers, right? So you've hired us to take charge of your portfolio, your investment portfolio. The only difference is that we're not specifically talking about managing your money, right? So you're not having to give us a lot of money for this podcast. But we're going to get to this. It is definitely going to come back around to money in your pocket. But imagine right now that the capital we're talking about is not cash, right? Or Bitcoin or whatever. But right now it's literally your speech. So just imagine that for a moment. And what does that really mean? So just real quickly, I want to just point out every one of you who's watching this, listening to this now, I'm pretty darn sure that you have invested dearly. You have invested a lot over probably many years on your smooth speech journey. So I just want to leave that out there for the moment. Anything you want to say about that, Michael?
Yeah. So, Thom, when you say that they've invested a lot already on their smooth speech journey, what do you mean by that?
So what I mean is, first of all, I'm making an assumption that if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, then you got here some way. And you probably got here because you know Michael on some level. Or at the very minimum, you've heard about his work, right? And you're here because you want to transform your speech, right? Maybe you stutter, maybe you get stuck from time to time, maybe it's situational, maybe it's chronic. Maybe you just struggle with your speech. Maybe you're someone like me who did not identify as a stutterer or stammerer, but I struggle with my speech. In one way or another, it's almost certain that you're here with us because you have struggled with your speech, and it probably didn't happen yesterday. It's probably something that's been with you for quite some time, and now how long it's been really impacting you. And let's just, for the sake of this conversation, let's say how long it's been impacting your finances, right? Just to kind of crank this up a level, right? So I said we would come back around to the money. So already it's coming back around to the money. Let's just be real. Let's cut to the chase. For most of us, our speech directly impacts our income. And to go back and kind of answer your question, Michael, the reason I'm saying people have invested in their smooth speech journey, and I shouldn't say already, it's like all along, is because it's been probably quite some time that you've been taking courses. Maybe you've gotten some therapy. Maybe you've bought some devices, right, to improve your speech. Whether or not you've bought a course or taken coaching with Michael, you've probably invested hard-earned cash in ways to improve your speech. But even if you haven't, right, even if you haven't, put a dime into your smooth speech journey, or maybe for you, you haven't even thought of it as smooth speech. Maybe it's been my stop stuttering journey or what have you. What I know you've invested is your time, right? So that's almost guaranteed. And I would love to know if there's anyone out there watching this, listening to this, is like, no, I haven't invested anything in this. Well, that's not true, because the fact that you're watching this and listening to this right now is an investment at minimum of your time. And I think your time's precious.
Exactly. Yeah. So the question would be that if this is if you've been struggling in one way or another, it could be, like Thom said, it could be stuttering, stammering, it could be speaking so fast that it's hard for people to understand what you're saying, or whatever it is, but you've been struggling. And if you've taken courses, could be Udemy courses, or you've listened to podcasts or watched YouTube videos. How much time have you spent, have you invested over the years doing that? And then what has been the return on that investment? That is, when you look at um, the rate at which your speech has improved, the degree to which your speech has improved, has it been a good investment of time for you? All of the things that you've watched and listened to, have you seen and experienced a good return on that investment? Or have you kind of been spinning your wheels or investing into something that may be good, but it may not be giving you the very best return that you can get, and the fastest as well? So yeah, I know that's something that we're going to come back around to a little later, but I just wanted to throw that in, Thom.
Yeah, absolutely. Return on investment's key, right? And if you've been like most of the people that I've come across in the Pro 90D community, you've been at it for a long time, right? We're not talking about days or weeks or months. We're talking about years, and for many people, decades.
Decades.
Right?
Right.
Right. And so think about that, right? So for a moment, let's imagine we had a stock, right? So if we looked at the financial side of this and you bought a stock, if it's a solid company and we buy a good stock at a low price, then in those years and decades, we're probably going to get a really good return. Now, on the other side of that is there's never a guarantee with stocks, right? At any moment, that stock can implode, that company could go under. It can always happen, right? So there's two dynamics there that are very important. One is, wow, we know that investing over time is kind of a key financial strategy, right? If we want to get a solid, secure, financial wealth over time, that's what we need, right? We can run shorts and we can try to play the market, but that's like gambling in a very real way.
Right.
But again, even with the long-term strategy and finances, there's no guarantee.
Right.
With speech, just imagine for a moment that you had made an investment, 20 years ago. Use your own experience wherever you are in your own life at a key point in your life, and years have gone by, and that investment had been paying off at to the extent where you're like, oh, I'm definitely not going to take my money out of that. In fact, I'm going to put more into it, right? If it's something solid and it's growing over time, we don't sell that. We keep putting more in, right? Mm. So just imagine that for a moment in speech, getting that kind of solid return. Now, here's the thing, though. That's great. That sounds great if you're looking back like, I wish I had done that. And I wish I had known of an investment like that. Mm-hmm. Now, you just said something else, though, Michael, that's really important, which is how quickly are you getting that return? So really, we're at a point now, for those of you watching this, now the question is, okay, I wish I had been investing. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm assuming this is true for many of you, but you wouldn't be watching, you wouldn't be with us, right? That you're not necessarily where you want to be on your smooth speech journey, right? In other words, you wouldn't be watching financial investors if you were already where you wanted to be. If you had all the money you ever wanted and you already know what you need to know, you don't need to watch anybody to find out, you know what you're doing. You're there, or you've made the right choices. So what we're assuming here is that you could use some help, some guidance in your smooth speech investments, right? And so imagine now that you can still make a wise investment, right? Again, true with stocks, right? It's the companies that have been around for years and perform well. That's not the end of that story. There are still stocks now you can get into. The question is which ones? How do we know, right? The way we know this is by looking back over time, right? We're like, oh, darn, I wish I'd invested in that.
Right.
Not the case with smooth speech. If you choose, and I'm just going to say it, if you choose Pro 90D, right? Because you've built in, I'm just going to be straight up about it, because you've built in the structures and the systems that create the value. right?
Exactly. Yeah. I can't tell you how many people that I've talked to, and I've just seen this. Remember, I've now been coaching full time about 10 years. I've kind of been in this field for 12 years or so, maybe 12 or 13 years, coaching full time 10. And I can't tell you, I mean, I literally can't tell you because there's been so many people that I've seen who pre Pro 90D, they were earning a certain amount of money. So they had limited themselves or were limited financially. We're not even talking about the emotional, the relational uh, value or return on smooth
Which
speech.
can be
We're just
priceless,
talking,
by the way.
which can be exactly. We're just talking about finances. They were working at jobs or not working at all because of their speech. And as they were going through Pro 90, some of them, this wasn't even after, this was as they were going. I had one guy, I think, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I know I've mentioned it years ago in a video that this guy, I think he got an increase of literally 30, like 35,000, $30,000. I'll just say 30. I think it was more, but his income went up by over $30,000 while he was in Pro 90D. Another young guy, he almost doubled or tripled his income. He got 2 additional jobs while going through Pro 90D. I have a gentleman in Africa who I think I mentioned before who saved up for 2 years. This guy's in Africa and it costs a lot of money. He saved up for 2 years. He invested 2 years of his life in saving up for the coaching. Why? Because he knows he's going to get a huge return for the rest of his life. So this idea of your smooth speech investment isn't just something that, well, I'm going to feel better, my esteem is going to be better, I'm going to have greater self-confidence. What we're talking about, you're going to be able to earn more money. That's just one aspect. Of course, you're going to be able to serve more people, be happier, have better relationships. We're not even talking about that. We're just saying the potential for you to earn more money, and in many cases, a lot more money, is there if you invest in your speech.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I remember there was somebody you mentioned to me who I think had like $1 million deal after going, an entrepreneur who made like
Exactly.
$1 million deal after going through your program and attribute it to his speech, which is awesome. I mean, it makes perfect sense, right? Because when it comes down to it, bringing in the money has a lot to do with communication, right?
Right.
Unless you're in a job where you don't have to communicate at all, you know. And let's also face it that lots of people are in jobs where they don't communicate at all because of their speech, and they don't want to be in that situation.
Exactly.
Right? And so that's really important too. I mean, this is kind of bringing in some of the other qualitative values, which I said, like I just mentioned a moment ago, are really priceless. But unfortunately, it's oftentimes those priceless things that we won't pay for. We're crazy, right? People are crazy. We won't invest in the things that are the most valuable because we can't. And I get it, right? I've done the same thing because in the moment we need the money, right? It's hard to get past the fact that we need the income. We got to take care of the family. We got bills to pay, right?
Exactly.
But just imagine, this is a good moment maybe right now for everybody watching, listening. Just take a moment now just to do a really simple exercise, which is just to step back and say, a visioning exercise where we allow ourselves to say, wow, what if I could choose the work I want to do? Mm-hmm. And is it possible that my speech would be the door to that, right? Like if I could speak smoothly, if I could say what I want to say, when I want to say it, the way I want to say it, right? Could that like open up doors? Absolutely. Right. So, and so there's so much, I mean, the sky's the limit, right? So it's not just a simple transactional thing. Speak better, get paid more. And of course, you still got to do some other work. You still got to be working. But I think it's pretty easy for people to imagine that, wow, all the doors that can be open, if it's hard for you to think of that, think of all the doors you have shut because of your speech, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And again, I mean, I'm just thinking back as you were speaking, I'm just thinking back about the people who they're graduating from college and they know they've got interviews coming up. I can't tell you how many college students I've helped take their speech to that next level where now they can go get a job, just get a job. Like they were fit. Some of them have been failing interviews. They knew they were struggling with their speech, but it wasn't until they failed some interviews that they said, okay, now I need to invest some money into this, right? Or they try to just watch YouTube videos, which is great, but okay, I need a systematic process structure. I need some guidance because I can't even get a job, right? And then you have people in jobs. I'll tell you how many engineers that I've worked with who were came in at that base level where they're not doing a lot of talking. They're just on the computer. And part of the reason that they never went for promotions is because of their speech. And so they kind of stayed at that level. Now they're ready to move to the next level. They need to be able to communicate more smoothly, clearly, and confidently. And so, and they see they're going to get a big jump in pay. And so that correlation between how much money they're going to make and their smooth speech investment is right there, right? It's very, very clear. Mm-hmm. If I take my speech to the next level, I'm also going to take my career, my income to the next level. Some of you who are listening to this, we don't even have to convince you of this. You already know because you have or you are experiencing it now. Mm-hmm. What we're trying to say is we just want to make this so clear for you where you can see that by investing as little as $299, in some cases even less, into a systematic process that's been around for a while that thousands of people have used, by making that small investment, and for some of you, maybe coaching if you want to accelerate that process, making that small investment can be the difference between thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of dollars.
Yeah. Yeah. You put it in that context, it really changes things, right? And hey, I get it, right? For many of us at any given time, $299, it's US dollars you're talking about, that might seem like prohibitive at the moment. Take a moment to, again, go back to that investment, what you've been spending over time. I like to, when we talk about the word spend and invest, I try to use the term invest when we're being wise about it, or at least conscious, right? At least conscious. But it's hard to be sure because there's a lot involved. But then there's spending where there's not necessarily a whole lot of thought around it. And we all do that too, right? We spend. And if then later we're like, ooh, maybe I could have spent that better or invested that better, right? Or invested instead of spent it. So just wordplay can be helpful just to kind of realize, wow, have I been spending a lot and not so? Because usually we don't expect a return when we spend money, right? When we spend money, there's not a thought of a return. I mean, we might get a good meal, we might get a place to stay, whatever, but we're not expecting an accumulative return. When you invest, that's, when you're consciously investing, the expectation is, the intention is, I'm putting this in so I can get more out.
It's a very, very good point.
Right? And so if you think about that for a moment and think about all the time and money, but I want to really, for a moment, really look at the time. Because I know for a lot of you, even if you've put a lot of money in, you've certainly put a lot of your time into improving your speech. And it could look like a lot of things, but for a lot of people, it looks like it improves a little bit, goes back down. Maybe improves a lot, snaps back. Maybe it's a long period of struggle and almost no improvement. But almost certainly you're not where you want to be if you're here with us right now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. So what we're offering with Pro90D is it's a systematic approach. And just to I'm going to connect something you were saying, Michael, that it's not simply you come in, you get smooth speech, and then that leads to the income. In part of the system, because this is so well thought out, Michael knows that even smooth speech is not enough, right? You've got to you've got to be an effective communicator, right? You can be a smooth speaker and not communicate effectively at all, right? Your words can come out really nicely and smoothly and beautifully and eloquently, but you may not get the message across, right? So built into the system are presentation skills, the kind of skills you need in interviews, the kind of skills you need for job meetings, the kind of skills you need for leadership positions, right? And this is critical. And often it's not seen as holistically, as anywhere near as holistically as the way we approach it in Brown NED. And it's very, very important. And it's also important, I just want to make this one more point in terms of different price points. Michael just mentioned $299. That's the price of the self-study, which really gives you the entire system. And the difference between that and the coaching, and it's an important difference to know about, but it gives you the system and you take it on. But you've got a wonderful community to do it with. So you're not totally alone. The key difference between that and the coaching, of course, is the coaching is you're getting that personal guidance if you need it. And some people need it. And some people get it because they want to get there faster, right? They want to make the most, going back to investment. If you've got the money and you want to get from point A to point B quicker, you make the investment to get the vehicle that's going to get you there quicker. That coaching, right? And if you're someone who you've made bad investment after bad investment, in other words, you haven't stuck with it, you've paid the money, but you haven't done the work, right? You haven't put in the time behind it, then you're someone to consider the coaching. But all of this just to say, this investment, we've heard this a lot. You get what you pay for. And in reality, that's not exactly true. Because we all know, we've all had experiences where we've paid a little bit for something and gotten a lot out of it. And we've all had experiences where we paid a lot for something and been really disappointed. Right. I guarantee everybody on this, listening to this, has had some experiences, stories around that.
Exactly.
What we're offering is something where, as long as you know where you're coming in, right? Like, if you're someone, you know what, I think I can do it myself. I think if I could get the traction, or at least I could start there, like get into the self-study, what we can assure you is that you will have what you need. Right? So you're not going to be paying a lot of money for something and getting into it and find out, oh, it's a great house, but doesn't have a bedroom. It doesn't have a kitchen.
Floors. It's great, but there's no floors. There's no ceiling.
No roof. Right. Yeah.
So you're right. So this thing has been tested. We're constantly updating it. The science is there. People say, well, where's the science? So right on the Pro90, if you just go to pro90d.com, there's in the FAQ, frequently asked questions, you scroll down, you'll be able to see a fact and you'll be able to see where the science comes from. Then you can go out and do your own research on the science, and you'll find that there's tons and tons and loads of research around the foundation of this program. But you're also going to see all the people, all the videos and the reviews and testimonials. And there are so many more that you don't see, as I may have mentioned, because there's so many more people who don't want to have their video up there who've gone through the program and they're successful. So what you see is just a tiny, tiny percentage of the people that we've worked with. And as we work with people, we learn things, we learn what works and what doesn't work. And that then gets reinvested or incorporated into the program. So, after more than a decade, you've got something that really works. And we don't tell you that it's going to be easy, and we don't tell you that it's going to be fast. It is, comparatively speaking, it's fast, right? It's faster than not doing something or doing a program that doesn't have a scientific foundation or that's not holistic, right? It is going to be faster and easier, but we tell you it's going to be hard work. In fact, it will probably be one of the most challenging things that you ever do in your life, but also one of the most rewarding things that you ever do. And if you think about it, if you follow the program, which is absolutely doable, everyone can do it. Some people don't, unfortunately, but everyone can, and many people do. The thing is, your life can be very, very different within a period of 3 months, which may sound like a long time, but it's not. it goes by really, really fast. And so imagine you come in and four people who stutter, for example, they're barely able to speak and they have a hard time speaking. It'll be hard for them to pass an interview, right? Imagine that. And then imagine in less than 3 months, they're able to pass an interview. They're able to speak and say that, now, sure, they may still have some disfluencies like we all do, but their life is totally different now, right? So we're not really talking about a long period of time that you need to invest your time in. But what we're saying is that the program has everything you need. We're being totally transparent and honest in terms of the work that you have to put in and the time you have to put in. And so it's worth it.
Yeah, just one thing to follow up on that, going back to how much time have you already put in? How much work have you already put in? How much frustration have you already gotten from the work and time you've put in? Right. And so we're talking about, so imagine if you could change it all up. Oh my God, I've been spending years on this. What if you could bring all that down to 90 days? All of a sudden, that sounds like pretty darn good. Right?
That's a very good point, Thom.
Especially since, and this is important, because it works, right? So again, this goes back to where this really differs from like buying a stock. Hey, the fact is, the vast majority of stock purchases don't pan out. Let's just be real. We all put our attention to the ones we should have bought, but we didn't, right? And by the way, those companies could still change. Right? But we're talking about something that basically has a guaranteed return. Think about it. Yes, you are a major part of it, right? It's the investment you make. We provide the system and the structure. Of course, you've got to continue to invest your time. But the difference is now your time is invested in something that will actually have a direct feedback loop in a sense. Think of it that way. And now, again, like you were pointing to, Michael, I didn't mean it's not like this linear thing. And you can say that, oh, everybody's going to get this exact result at this time. Of course not. We're all different. We're all going to invest differently. We all have different habits, et cetera, et cetera. We have different baggage. But the beauty is the system really takes all of that into consideration.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. This is a big part of what you're saying. It's been updated. Part of the upgrades are learning about the way people learn and the fact that people do have different trajectories. We work with people who are severe stutterers all the way to people who you would never know they ever even had an issue with speech, but they know it. They know it and run into different kinds of issues, right? There's really quite a wide variety of speaking challenges that can be addressed in the system.
And just to add to that, in fact, you'll see, if you go and you visit Udemy, you'll see some of our courses there that have nothing to do with stuttering. It's just people that want to smooth out their speech, improve their communication skills, right? So we work with people who don't stutter at all, but they still struggle in one way or another with their ability to articulate their thoughts as smoothly, as clearly and confidently as they would like, all the way to people who are severe stutterers who, I know this as a fact, some of whom have been referred to us by speech therapists, people who are experts in their field. They say, hey, we heard about this program, Pro90D, that does wonders with adult stutterers. And we also work with some children, but mostly adults. And so we actually get referrals. Now, they can't tell anybody that because, there's just laws and stuff, but they know that this program is one of the best in the world. And so they refer people to us. I had a guy tell me, this isn't funny, but it is kind of funny. Went to a speech therapist when he was younger. They said, well, you're too young, wait for a while. Then he got older and he went back. They said, well, you're too old. It's too late.
Oh no.
Literally, I'm not lying. This is exactly what, so he's an adult now. And then he's like, okay, now what do I do? So his cousin.
Don't go back to those people, that's for sure.
Don't go back.
Bad investment, by the way. Example, highlight. This is not a wise, smooth speech investment. Although, poor guy, how did he know, right? He's just doing what he thinks he knows what to do.
So his cousin, who graduated recently, well, maybe it's been a year or two now, because last year, I don't know, just got lost. So his cousin graduated with his PhD, is now a professor. He referred this guy to me, right? So what we're saying is that this is something that really works. We have clients that are all over the world. We have clients who are PhDs or PhD candidates, scientists, doctors, lawyers, business owners who come to us because of the scientific basis of this program. And so it's an excellent way for you to invest your time and your money and get a return relatively quickly, right? Relatively quickly in comparison with the years that you've been struggling and all of the money that you've lost, that you've left on the table because of your speech, as well as the opportunities that you've missed out on, right? All of the opportunities. We're not just talking about professional opportunities, we're also talking about social opportunities. There are people who, I had a guy who built his life around his speech. He lives in Turkey. He moved to a place where he was close enough to get his food delivered. He used to order his food online. He used to have his mom and his girlfriend make all of his phone calls. Imagine that, your whole life. He even left his job, right? He didn't complete his degree, all because of his speech. Finally, he came to me. Now he's probably completed his degree now. Um, he makes all of his own phone calls, obviously, now. It doesn't matter where he lives now. I mean, imagine the freedom that you can experience when you transform your speech, when you invest in your smooth speech journey and invest with Pro 90D, right? Because you can be assured that you're going to get a good return for your money and your time.
Yeah, well, a couple of the opportunity cost. I mean, when you put those two together, the expense you've left out and the opportunity, really, it's opportunity cost, right?
Exactly.
When we're in, hey, we get it. It happens. We all do things that, in retrospect, we look back and say, "Wow, probably could have invested that better. Could have used my time better here. Could have used my money better here." So It's all okay. And the fact is, whatever you've put in, I'm sure, is going to has helped you to some degree, and it will help you moving forward, because those of you who have put in the time, right? Those of you who have been working on it, you're going to be a great candidate for Pro 90D. It's the people who aren't doing anything, who haven't made any investments, who haven't really tried, who don't really, you want it to be better, but it's kind of like, you want to be rich, but damn, I didn't hit the lottery. Oh, well, I guess I won't be rich. If that's the attitude, probably not going to work for you, right?
Yeah.
You're probably wasting your time right now, but I don't think that's who's listening. I don't think that's who's watching. I think the people who are engaged now have wanted to make a difference and just simply need a better investment vehicle, better investment managers.
Exactly. That what I wanted to say earlier is the guy from Kenya who saved up for 2 years for coaching. He's gotten into the program. And again, I think I may have mentioned this in our last podcast. If not, I'll probably mention it in every podcast because it's that important going forward. In fact, I'm going to mention this every time, but because he's such an inspirational example. He gets in and he says, "Michael, I spend 45 minutes a day doing modeling practice, and then I spent another 15 minutes or so doing free flow speaking or whatever." He said, "Even though you said we could take a day or two off, I don't take any days off. Every single day, this is what I do. And I've just seen my speech go to a whole new level." Then he says, "And then when I'm in the self-study group, I see that some of those people are not doing any modeling at all, and some of them are still struggling with their speech. Some of them, those who are not doing it, we're not doing enough of it." And so it just goes to show that has not only he had a long-term view in his life. He saved the money. Now he's investing his time and his energy, and he's getting results back in less than 3 months. And those results will continue to compound and pay him back and
Exactly.
higher and higher dividends for the rest of his life, right?
Absolutely. No, I think that's an awesome point. That's this a cumulative investment. And yeah, on some level, that means you got to stay in the game, right? So
Mm.
it doesn't mean you stop. Even if you go through the entire system, you don't stop. But of course you wouldn't, right? Like we don't do that when it's something we believe in and something we want to improve. And that brings me to something else. It's a different topic, and we'll speak about it more in other places, other times. But for a lot of people, we were speaking earlier about we won't make investments where we often really need them if the money's not there.
Right.
But here's something where the money and what we really need in our life comes together, and that's your purpose, your why, right? I often say, and you mentioned it, that there's something you must do in your life. And some of you listening right now, watching right now, will get that right away. Yes, and I know what it is, right? And others might be saying, yes, I wish I knew what it was. I think most people, if not everyone, watching, listening to this right now, are in one of those two camps. I doubt very seriously you're here if you're like, oh, I don't even care what the heck. I could care less what my purpose is. I don't think you're here. So I'm going to speak to those of you who you're like, yes, I know there's something I must do. I know I've got a purpose and I'm doing it. I'm engaged in it. And wow, I can see how, the more effective my speech is, the smoother my speech is. The fact that I can say what I want to say when I want to say it, my confidence, all of that. Oh my God, that'll make a huge difference in being able to fulfill my purpose and bring in more money. I mean, that's pretty easy to see that, right? And for those of you who are like, yeah, that sounds great, but I really don't know what that purpose is. We can talk about that, but you can also look at it from the standpoint when you communicate more effectively. Again, it goes back to opening doors. The more doors you can open, the more you're able to communicate, the more confidence you have. All of that is going to make it far easier for you to tap into your purpose. Because for a lot of people, and I've done this work with hundreds of people in the past, and it's my work now as a coach, that purpose is lying just under the surface, and it's possible you don't see it just because the belief structure isn't in place. The visioning isn't in place. And that could simply be because the speech problems are keeping you from having a more expansive view. I mean, might be hard to get your head around now, but I promise you that's true. And Michael can speak to this. And I just wanted to say this quickly because, Michael, you're someone who not only did you create this system, but you created this system because you were on this journey of investment. And you can look at your own life and I'm sure there was times when you can look back and say, well, those investments maybe weren't so great. And I think it's fair to say that you created this system because you wanted to make sure you were investing wisely, that you had a solid investment vehicle. So you created it.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I know that the reason that I started working on my speech, 3 decades ago, something like that,
I'm going to
right?
say 3,000 years ago.
3,000.
Feels like.
Yeah, back in my mid-20s, I would say, and I'm almost in my mid-50s now, right? So that's been a while. But the reason is because I knew there's something that I must do. I wasn't exactly clear on what it was, but I had a pretty good idea. And I knew that it was going to require me to be able to communicate well. And I knew that what was holding me back was my speech. And for me, it was stuttering. For you, it may not be stuttering. It may be just fear of public speaking or whatever it is, or speaking too fast or whatever. And so I then set out on a journey to figure out a way to fix it because my why was so important that I didn't want to go through the rest of my life like not answering that call, not doing what I was called to do. And so I set out on that journey to fix my speech, right? To take my speech to that next level. And then many years later, I decided that I wanted to serve on a different level, right? To serve people in such a way that I felt like was more in tune with my why, right? And that's why I created this program and the system. So this is even more closely tied to what must I do and why I'm here, right? And so we know that this works. A lot of what I've poured into this, yes, does come from my own experience, but now over the last decade or so, it's not just my experience, it's the science and it's the experience of thousands of other people who've come before you, right? So it's not just me now. So you have to watch when you're investing in something, is it just from someone's own experience, which is legitimate, right? Or is it from something that someone said comes from science, but you can't really verify that? Uh, and or is it a combination of those things and also from the experiences and the feedback of people just like you? So now I can say that something is scientifically based, or I can say that I was able to do this, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. But if you go through something where there's people from all over the world speak many different languages, different race, different cultures, different genders, whatever, and it's worked for them, you can kind of be confident that by investing your time into this, that it's probably going to work for you too.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of the awesome testimonials you have are from scientists, right? Doctors, people who are in the field, who they were attracted largely because of the science. They stayed because of many more reasons, right? Because, the science alone, like you said, we can have science, but if you can't actually see how that science plays out, right? Then it's kind of meaningless. It sounds great, but here you can see that direct relationship, and you have people who are scientists, essentially, right, or in the field, saying, "Yeah, it's right there, and I'm experiencing incredible differences in my life." Right, so it is really nice. I mean, there's a lot of things out that are talking about that are out on the market now, talking about brain science, and all of it's great and it's very exciting. But then you have to ask, well, wait a minute, how does it actually apply? And in this case, it's made very clear within the system. So it's not something that's just said in the beginning, and then you're like,
right,
how's this doing? It's you learn how it actually is a scientific approach, right? And a proven approach, and a lot of other things as well. It's not purely science either, right?
Right.
It's that experiential element, and the community is a big thing. Like, how much, like, what's the price we would put on doing things alone? Like, you're right, like feeling like we have to do things in isolation. Like, how much value is there in a community? Now, many people who struggle with speech kind of shy away from communities. But the beauty of this is a community in the context of this struggle. Right, so you're all on the same page, even if you're coming from different places. It's one of the most respectful communities I've ever come across. I mean, it's really remarkable.
Yeah.
And so you get that incredible value of people helping each other, inspiring, motivating, just really enthusiastic about each other's success. And what I love about it is it doesn't feel like a competition, but at the same time, like you said, you can also, it's what you get out is what you put in, and you can go in there and you say, oh, wow, I'm noticing that certain people maybe aren't, you're not going to say this to them, but certain people maybe aren't advancing but I can see why. They're not doing these things. They're not doing the modeling. They're not doing this particular thing. They're not giving it the time. So that's valuable also, right? Not to puff yourself up or anything, but just to say, wow, okay, you can have real-time feedback through a community environment on your own progress, which you just simply can't get when you're totally on your own. You have no comparative, group, right? Until you're on the spot, right? Until you're in the place where you need to test your speech, right? And how nice it is to be able to test your speech and have lots of ways to practice
in a safe environment
without having to be in that under that pressure situation, right? So there's a lot of value to that as well.
Yeah. Well, Thom, our time is about up here. We said that we were maybe going to try to do this about 30 minutes, but we're already at that 45-minute mark. So I know. I mean, but this is fun, and this is a real important topic that I hope that you guys are taking seriously, because this is the difference between you're starting this journey and investing in yourself and in your family and in your life and in other people, or not, because I have the money, or I don't want to invest that much money, or let me just try to get this for free. All that's fine for a while, but at some point, you may find that, you know what, it's time for me to step up. Uh, I've had people who've spent the same amount of money on vacations. Totally fine, right? We all want to take vacations stuff. But I had one guy, he was one of my first clients. He said, you know what? He told his family, he said, this year we're not going to do a vacation right now. I'm going to take this, whatever it was, $3,000, and invest it in my speech, because I know it's going to have a greater return on us in the long term. And then he since turned around and helped his wife with her speech, right? So now you can see how he's gotten better jobs and so forth and so on. So we're going to spend the money someplace. Even if you're in a place like Africa, while it might take you years, you're going to spend that money someplace, right? And if you're in the US or the UK or Saudi Arabia or something, you're going to spend that money, and you're probably going to spend it this year or this month or next month. You're going to spend it.
Or
You're going to
today.
spend at least, or today, you're going to spend at least $299 someplace pretty soon, more than likely. Why not invest that into yourself, where you can get a lifetime return, a financial return, as well as emotional and spiritual or relational and all those other things. So those are my last comments. I don't know if you have something else that you want to add to wrap us up.
I'll just say one last quick thing. I mentioned it very briefly early on, which is I am 100% confident that your time, anyone listening to this, watching this, your time is precious. And if you have any doubt of that, then that's what's keeping you from really investing in yourself. If we see our time as precious and believe it, you can get so much out of a program like this, out of a system like this. And it's actually super important, because there's a lot of people who just don't see their time as precious. They don't see their life as valuable. And yet at the same time, they're wondering what's missing, right? And they're wondering why things are so difficult. And I promise things can be so much easier and so much more rewarding in your life if you just realize, take my word for it, your time is precious, your life is precious, and you are worth investing in, and in a way that's going to serve you as quickly as possible. And that's what ProND is all about.
Yes. So we want to encourage you to go ahead, visit us at pro90d.com, pro90d.com. And from there, if you have questions, there's a little chat bubble that pops up. You can ask, but everything is right there. And a great place to start is the self-study. But for those of you that may have been following us for a while and you're ready to accelerate that process, then you're going to want to work with me one-on-one. And so just go ahead and book your free assessment session, as long as you know that you're ready to move forward, but you have some questions for me, or some doubts or something like that. We can do that. So we just want to invite you to go ahead and take that step now. Thank you so much, Thom.
Well, I do got to say one more thing, because you just, I just got to. Because you said something really important. Because for those people out there who are thinking, God, these guys are just want our money. Well, I hope you don't think that. But here's the thing. Of course, it's a business. But here's the deal. We actually don't want everyone to come into this. We absolutely don't want everyone to come into this. You said a key word: if you're ready. If you're not ready, if you're not going to put in the time, then it would not be a wise investment for you. But it's just a decision point. Am I ready to invest in myself? If the answer is yes, we would love to have you.
Great point, Thom. And I got just one more thing. Now I'm just playing. Okay. One more thing. 30 minutes later. All right, we're going to wrap up now, but I just have one more thing to say. Okay, guys. Thanks a lot. We always have fun with each other and with you. And so we'll see you the next time.
All right, take care.